Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Before anything else, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Seriously, after what you're about to hear, you'll want your friends watching this too. Now let's get into it. Her name is Ahyeon. She is the main vocalist, lead rapper, lead dancer, face and center of babymonster, YG Entertainment's first girl group in 7 years since Blackpink. She was born on April 11, 2007. She is 19 years old. I'm going to keep reminding you of that number because by the end of this video, it's going to feel more and more unreal. Let me start with her vocal foundation, because before we even touch her live performances, we need to understand what kind of instrument she's working with. Ahyeon's voice carries natural warmth and body in her mid and lower register that most high-range singers sacrifice for brightness at the top. What makes this so rare is that she doesn't have to choose. Her lower tones are rich and resonant, her mid-range is full and controlled, and when she pushes into her upper register, she doesn't thin out or go shrill, she opens up. The voice gets bigger, rounder, more powerful. That is not normal. That is not something you just happen to have. That is the result of years of intentional, disciplined vocal development that most professional adult singers haven't fully achieved. Now let's talk about her passaggio, the technical term for the bridge between a singer's chest voice and their head voice. This is the moment every vocalist dreads, because it's where the voice naturally wants to break or flip. You can hear it clearly in untrained or undertrained singers, that sudden gear shift, that crack in the sound where the two registers don't connect smoothly. Eliminating that break is one of the hardest things to accomplish in vocal training. It requires years of specific exercises, correct muscle coordination, and the kind of ear-to-body awareness that only comes with consistent, serious practice. Ahyeon's passaggio is virtually invisible. She moves between her chest voice and upper register with a fluidity that sounds completely effortless, like the two registers were never separate to begin with. When she's performing live, dancing full choreography with a handheld mic in front of thousands of people, that transition remains smooth. That is the mark of someone who has internalized their technique so deeply that it no longer requires conscious thought. It has become instinct. At 19. Here's the first moment that genuinely shook me, and I want you to sit with this. On April 25, 2024, babymonster performed their debut song, Sheesh, on NetZem Countdown with a live band and handheld microphones. Most K-pop groups, especially rookie groups less than a month into their debut, would never take this risk. Headset mics combined with strong backing tracks give you room for error. A handheld mic in front of a live band gives you nothing. Every breath, every micro-pitch deviation, every moment of vocal instability is fully exposed and fully amplified. The format is merciless. And Ahyeon chose it. And then she walked out onto that stage and hit high notes so cleanly, so effortlessly, that a Korean netizen posted a clip on X captioning it, "Is this Coachella or a music show?" That clip exploded, over 2 million views, 27,000 likes, 26,000 retweets within hours. After hitting her high note, she turned to the crowd and asked, Countdown, are you ready? With the mic fully live, tone fully clean, no wobble, no strain. Just pure, controlled vocal power delivered with the confidence of a 20-year veteran. People in the comments were writing things like, "My ears are getting cleansed." Non-fans were stopping their scroll. Because what she did in that moment should not be physically possible at that level of rookiehood, at that age, under that level of pressure. But let's go deeper, because the high note is just the headline. The real story is in her breath support, and this is where I need you to pay very close attention, because breath support is the invisible architecture behind everything a great singer does. Without proper breath support, you cannot sustain long phrases. You cannot control dynamics. You cannot deliver a clean high note after physical exertion. And physical exertion, in a live K-pop performance means full synchronized choreography, arm movements, formation changes, floor work, position transitions, all while singing every word live into an open microphone. Watch Ahyeon in any of her live stages. She comes off a demanding dance sequence and goes straight into a sustained high note, not gasping, not pushing, not shrill from overcompensation. The tone is full, the pitch is centered, the breath is managed. That tells me her diaphragmatic engagement is exceptional. Her body is working the way a trained, experienced professional's body should work. Not a teenager's. Not a rookie's. A professional's. Now here is the moment that elevated Ahyeon in my mind from technically impressive to something genuinely rare. In November 2024, she appeared on KBS K-pop's web variety limousine service, stripped back, minimal piano arrangement, no choreography, no production spectacle. Just her voice in the room. She opened with Love, maybe from babymonster's first full album Drip, starting soft, intimate, almost conversational in tone, before gradually building into full-voice high notes in the final section that hit with a force completely disproportionate to how gently she had opened. Then she covered Vampire and Hate Love, reimagined entirely in her own style. The response globally was overwhelming. Comments reading, "A voice unseen in K-pop, it's hard to believe her emotional depth at such a young age, we discovered a completely different side of Ahyeon." And here's why that matters technically. The stripped-back stage is the most honest test of a vocalist's true ability. When you remove the choreography, the lights, the production, the ensemble energy, you have nothing left except the voice and the person behind it. Ahyeon stood in front of a piano, opened her mouth, and the room belonged to her within the first 4 bars. That's not just technique. That's artistry. And the fact that she has both, simultaneously, at 19, that's what makes her genuinely extraordinary. Let me break down some of the specific technical elements I keep noticing across her performances. Her vocal agility is exceptional, her runs and riffs are clean, precise, and intentional. They land exactly where they're supposed to land. There's no slipping, no approximation, no close enough. Each ornament she adds to a phrase serves the music rather than existing just to demonstrate range. That's a sign of strong musical intelligence, knowing not just how to execute something, but when to use it and when to hold back. Her tonal consistency across her full range is equally striking. She doesn't sacrifice warmth for brightness or power for control. She maintains her core vocal identity regardless of which part of her range she's operating in. And her diction, clear, precise enunciation even in the middle of demanding choreography and complex vocal passages, means that every word she sings lands with its full emotional weight, which amplifies the impact of every performance dramatically. What I also need to highlight is her dynamic control, arguably the most emotionally powerful tool any vocalist can develop. The ability to pull back to almost a whisper and then expand to full voice without it feeling jarring or manufactured, but instead feeling completely inevitable, like the music couldn't have gone any other way, that's one of the hardest skills in singing to master. Ahyeon uses dynamics the way a great director uses silence, not as a break in the action, but as the action itself. Those moments where her voice drops down to something almost fragile before surging back up, they're devastating in the best possible way. They make you lean forward. They make you hold your breath. And when the surge comes, you feel it in your chest. I want to address something directly, because it's the question everyone eventually asks. Is any of this enhanced in post? Is studio processing being passed off as live? The answer is provably no. The handheld mic format she consistently chooses makes any significant audio enhancement essentially impossible to conceal. The ambient room sound, the natural reverb, the live band bleed in the mic, the breath sounds between phrases, all of it is there, audible, real. This is exactly what she sounds like when she steps onto a stage, picks up a microphone, and opens her mouth. And that reality is what makes everything about her so significant, and so rare. Yang Hyun-suk stated on record that Ahyeon has the highest vocal range among all 7 babymonster members. Yoon from Winner, a respected vocalist himself, gave her a standing ovation during her pre-debut evaluation and said it felt like watching a power show of her voice. Industry veterans were already paying attention before she had released a single commercial song. Because when something this rare stands in front of you and sings, you know it immediately. You don't have to think about it. It hits you before your brain has time to process what just happened. The phrase, "she's not human," isn't hyperbole for a thumbnail. It's the genuinely disorienting sensation of watching someone who should, by all logic and statistical probability, still be developing, still making the mistakes young singers make, still ironing out inconsistencies, still finding their footing, instead performing at a level that most vocalists spend their entire adult careers working toward and never fully reaching. The seamless passaggio. The breath support under full physical exertion. The dynamic control. The vocal agility. The emotional authenticity that makes every note feel like something personal. The raw, undeniable presence of a voice that doesn't know how to be anything less than completely alive. At 19 years old. When I think about what Ahyeon is likely to become as her voice continues to mature, as her instrument develops further, as she accumulates more stage experience, as she pushes deeper into her own artistry, I find it genuinely difficult to describe the ceiling. Because based on everything I can hear right now, at 19, with this foundation, that ceiling might not exist. If this opened your ears to something real like this video, share it, drop a comment telling me which live performance of Ahyeon's hit you the hardest, and subscribe if you're not already here. I'll see you in the next one. Ahyeon.